Back in the 1980s, there were many tall, great defensive big men that protected the rim and locked down the paint. Guys like Hakeem Olajuwon, Ralph Sampson, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Patrick Ewing, Moses Malone, and many others. All these great big men were dominant in the low block, controlling the lane. But one specific tall man doesn't get as much attention defensively as the others. Someone who is just as elite, if not better, than the guys I've just mentioned on the defensive side of the ball. Someone whose main priority was blocking shots and shutting down the low post. I am talking about 7'4" center for the Utah Jazz of the 1980s, Mark Eaton, a defensive star who doesn't get barely any credit or recognition for being one of the best shot blockers this game has ever seen. Mark Eaton was originally selected by the Phoenix Suns in the 5th round, back when the draft was 7 rounds, in 1979. But due to him opting to return to college, he was drafted by the Utah Jazz in 1982 with the 3rd pick in the 4th round. After not having an incredible college career, Mark was seen as a prospect for the long term. From the jump, however, he made an immediate impact defensively. He was a 7'4" shot blocking machine, controlling the paint and making it difficult for anyone who tried him. Due to his enormous height and look, he was nicknamed the Man Mountain. He created havoc for opponents driving the lane and in the low block. He was so tall, he could even block opponents without even jumping. Even though he wasn't much of an offensive player, he had a good lefty hook shot, and due to his height, he was able to get some easy tippy-toe dunks and put-back layups. Within his first season, he already broke the Jazz single-season record for blocks and averaged 3.4 blocks per game. He continued his shot-blocking dominance the next year, averaging a league-best 4.3 blocks, helping lead the Utah Jazz to the 2nd round of the playoffs, along with Adrian Dantley, with their playoff-best 3.1 blocks per game. But that wasn't even his career best, as just the following season, in 1984-85, he averaged an NBA record 5.6 blocks per game, blocking a total of 456 shots that year, which is also an NBA record for a single season. One of the best defensive seasons in NBA history, as he was first team All-Defense and won the Defensive Player of the Year award. Also, his best season in his career, as he averaged 9.7 points and 11 rebounds. He helped the Jazz to the playoffs again as he led the playoffs in blocks for the 2nd consecutive year. He continued his defensive greatness as he averaged 4.6 blocks the next season and led the league in blocks in both the 86-87 season and the 87-88 season. In 1989, he made his first and only All-Star appearance, as well as gaining his 2nd Defensive Player of the Year award, averaging nearly 4 blocks per game. From 1985 to 1989, he was selected to 2 first-team and second-teams All-Defense. In 1992, he played a key role in the Utah Jazz, making the Western Conference Finals for the first time in their franchise's history. Unfortunately, due to knee and back problems, his impact diminished and he retired in 1993. He left the game with an NBA record average of 3.5 blocks per game and 4th highest total blocks in NBA history. Big Mark Eaton is one of the greatest defensive players in NBA history and is not talked about as much as it should be. He's a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He's 5-time All-Defense. He holds the Utah Jazz record for blocks as well as NBA record for most blocks in a season, most blocks per game in a season, and most blocks per game in a career. His jersey is hanging up in the rafters for the Utah Jazz where it should be, as the Man Mountain was a defensive stalwart that should be recognized a lot more in NBA society.